Hello, my dear friends. Thanks so much for joining us for another night of studies, Spiritist studies. You are at Kardec Radio, and this is Spiritism, a closer look. I am Luiz Lima, your host, and we are going to bring the following topic tonight: inspiration. Inspiration is like this tool for personal growth. So we wanted to explore this a little bit. Before we do that, we always tell you you can always request a topic for us to develop here in our program. A lot of times we have guests with us sharing their ideas, and so you can always go to, as you see here on your screen, you can always go to kardecradio.com or our Spiritism A Closer Look webpage, Facebook page, and you can put your request through. We will be glad to do this for you because we're not doing for you, we're doing for ourselves as well. We are all learning here. So let's get to tonight's topic: inspiration as a tool for personal growth. In the current times is a little bit hard for most people. It's a little bit difficult to be inspired. At least that's what we see out there in general, not necessarily us spiritists. We're talking about humanity in general, the whole planet. It's difficult to find inspiration. We see a lot of people turn down, discouraged for whatever reason. We turn into the news and it becomes really, I would say, to say the least, challenging. Then we turn into the news, we're going to see wars, stories of awful, horrible stories of personal conflicts, content that is at times, a lot of times invasive, showing or displaying private lives of people. We have social networks showing questionable content for some people. A lot of people complain about that too. So we got this whole, I would say, pile of problems surrounding our lives. With that, things become, or they might become a little bit challenging for us. Some people handle it better than others. For some of them, it gets so frustrating, so aggravating that they will just quit. And that will translate into depression and, at a higher scale, unfortunately, suicide. A lot of people commit suicide because everything in their perception is going the wrong way. Nothing should be the way it is. And they choose to, unfortunately, take that route. So how do we overcome all these problems and illnesses? First of all, is it possible? Being bombarded by all of this, you see, the psychosphere or the fluidic atmosphere of the planet is affected by all the fear that we feel, by this horrible news, by grief. And we are in the middle of this thing. And it seems to me that we are all asking the same question: when is it going to be better? Well, if you come to think of it, when we, myself included, all of us, when we ask, when is it going to be better? This is kind of as silly as you put a child, a small child, a young child in a car and you drive for 2 hours. 5 minutes after you depart, they're going to ask, are we there yet? Are we there yet? And they keep asking the same thing. So it's as silly as this. When is it going to be better? If we don't do anything, if we don't commit to any changes or to help those who can be more influential in terms of changing, then it's not going to get better. Then we go back to Paul McCartney and John Lennon, The Long and Winding Road. Beautiful song, by the way. The Long and Winding Road. And why is that long and winding? Because we make it so. It's by choice. It's by our design. It's not by divine decree. There is no such a thing. God's not going to send us a decree saying, as of tomorrow, your road is going to be very long and winding. There is no such a thing. It is that way because we have made choices that led to that door, as the song says. By the way, just as a side note, when the song was written by McCartney alone, when he wrote the song, he had in mind this idea that things are becoming unattainable. I need to express my anguish. And that's how the song was born. Uh, just a little bit more detail. The band was going through difficult times. They were about to dismantle, and it happened 1 year after. And they were trying to discuss the issue. How are we going to handle this? And every time it would lead to the same thing. So they didn't get anywhere. That's the idea behind the song, The Long and Winding Road. If you bring it to our lives, we see the same news, we do the same things, we commit the same mistakes, and it leads to the same door all the time. And then we express our anguish in different ways. Each one does it differently. It's free will anyway. And we have this idea that things are going to be unattainable. We can't reach what we have to reach. So war, as we see on the news, like I said, war does not inspire anyone. What inspires is being one level above all of this. Being one level above war. Being one level above all these personal conflicts. Being one level above discrimination and racism and the whole list of problems that we have in our society. It's by elevating ourselves and being one level higher that we are going to be inspired. And that's the next question, how to get there. So just give me a second here. You see, Einstein used to say, you cannot fix anything at the same level that created the problem. If you want solutions, you have to step up and be at least one level above the level of the problem. So we see all these things in these news and all of this. Now let's look at the other side. Why are we not looking at news that are inspiring? Rarely we see those on television, music, internet, radio, whatever. So let me bring this to you. Do you know who are the current Nobel Prize holders? Nobel Prize for medicine, peace, physics, chemistry, literature. Do you know? Confession, I didn't. I had to look it up. So when I went to look it up, I said, well, if you come to think of it, these people that were or are awarded the Nobel Prize every year, they gotta be brilliant in some way. They have their problems and struggles like you and me. We all do. But there's brilliance in these people. By the way, one of the great movies is The Brilliant Mind, displays exactly that. One of the Nobel Prize winners, he was brilliant and he had his problems, and in his inner world, he had a lot of conflict and a lot of problems. Anyhow. So let me bring you, I'm just going to tell you without going into details. Let me bring you 3 of these Nobel Prize winners for 2021, which is for last year. Current Peace Prize went to 2 people. It was split. Maria Ressa from the Philippines and Dmitry Muratov from Russia. And the reason they were awarded was, quotes, because this comes from the actual Nobel Prize description of the prize, for their efforts to safeguard freedom of expression, which is a precondition for democracy and lasting peace. So it has to do with, free speech, the ability that everybody should have their opportunity to speak freely. That's what the Peace Prize is all about. And interestingly, these two people, one from the Philippines and one from Russia, live in societies where democracy is challenged every day. And they found inspiration to support their determination in pursuing the objectives. They were able to find it. Here's another Nobel Prize for medicine 2020. Three people on the same research: Harvey Alter, Michael Hutton, and Charles Rice, for their discovery of hepatitis C virus. Look how important that is. Look how a game changer that will be, because that was just 2 years ago. Look at, these people had to be guided by their inspiration on, let me research this, let me take a look at that, until they streamline it, they got to, find and discover this virus. And here's another one, surprising to me. I don't know about you, it was a very big surprising for me. Nobel Prize in Literature 2016, Bob Dylan. Yeah, the singer, Bob Dylan, for having created new poetic expressions within the great American song tradition. So you see, songs and music have been around forever. But a few people, he's one of them, were able to pick the words in a poetic way that inspires us in a different avenue. He had to be inspired to inspire us. So these are just three of the people who were awarded the Nobel Prize. I'm putting down here the website where you can go and see everyone who was ever awarded the Nobel Prize on anything from day one. Okay, I encourage you to just take a look at the last, say, 3-4 years and why they got the prizes. It's all written in there. Very interesting. Now, is that on the news? No, it's not. And why not? We have people here from different branches of science and different segments of society, beautifying life, each one in their own way, but making life more beautiful, more geared towards positivity. Of course, all these people have their own set of problems and struggles, all of them, all of them. But look at what they were able to produce, the outcome of their work, their research, their inspiration. This in itself is inspiring. When we look through, again, I encourage you to go to the page, right? I'm going to put it down here again. I encourage you to go here on this page and take a look at the people winning the Nobel Prizes every year and why they were winning. It is absolutely inspiring. And there's no reason why we cannot let ourselves be inspired. Inspiration is this tool for growth. When we find the inspiration to do something great or good, we feel great when we do it, even if it's something relatively small for a few minutes, maybe a few days. We feel grand. We feel growth within. So you see, if we were able to recognize the good in ourselves, we have struggles, yes, but if we are able to recognize the good in ourselves and silently award ourselves our own private personal Nobel Prize, things will change because we will be inspired by the fire within. The fire that inspires us to do things. does not come from outside. It is triggered from within. It comes from the soul. We are the ones bringing this from inside. Of course, our life experiences and the opportunities that we have for relationships and though they will help us get there. But ultimately, it's our decision. It's free will. So on the other hand, we can leave all of this behind, all of the inspiration, the greatness, positivity, and dive into a world of negativity. Again, it's free will. So I want to tell you something, a story that's actually in Greek mythology about this guy called Procrustes. This guy had a house in the middle of a road that connected two major cities. And it was a long shot to go from one city to another. It was a long, long, long walk. So people occasionally had to stop in the middle to spend the night to eat something. So this guy had a house and he would identify the visitors coming in and he would see they're getting tired and it's time for maybe stop and, just get some rest. So he would invite these visitors in, okay? And he would offer some food, some soup, and then offer a bed so these people could rest and wake up next day and continue their journey to wherever they were going to. But the problem is, he would put these people in bed. He would lie in bed. And here's the problem. If the visitor's height, so he's lying down, right? If the visitor's height was more than the bed length, he would cut the guy's or the visitor's legs and the person would die. If the person was shorter than the length of the bed, he would stretch completely until the person dies. So no matter what, the person would die. Well, and then the story goes around, and then people found that the reason why nobody ever came alive from there is he had two beds in two different sizes. So he would knowingly have the person lay on the bed that would not be exactly his or her size. And then he would kill the people. So you see that uh, he's trying to tailor the person's height to the size of the bed, to the length of the bed, tailor to his needs. And the story ends very interestingly. One of the great warriors at the time, Tizio, knew about it. And he said, I'm going to go there. I'm not going to die. And even worse, I'm going to kill him. And everybody's like, you're crazy. Nobody ever came alive from, that place. He said, I'll prove to you that I'm going to come out alive and he's going to die in my hands. So he goes into the house and he's offered the bed. Procrustes offers Tizio the bed. And Tizio said, before I do this, I want to challenge you. I want to put you laying down. If you don't fit the bed, I'll cut your head. Well, Procrustes said, of course I'll do it because his bed was made for himself, by himself. And he had exactly the length of his height. So I said, yeah, absolutely. I don't have a problem with that. And then what Tizio said is, where is the bed? So obviously Procrustes showed him the bed where he would fit perfectly. Here's the bed. So what Tizio does is he places Procrustes on the head, but crossed like this. And then the legs are outside the bed and the head is outside the bed. He cuts both. and Procrustes dies. So it's an ugly ending. But if you think about it, in a way, we are all Procrustes. We have these Procrustian attitudes where we want the world to follow what we need and what we want. We treat others the way Procrustes was treating all these visitors. Those around us, they have to adapt to what we need, no matter what. If not, there's going to be retaliation. That's typical of trials and expiations. And that's where we live. We live in a world of trials and expiations. The more we escalate our Procrustean attitudes, the more we suffer. You see, we can do something like this with our family members, and then we can maybe extend to the neighbors, then to our colleagues at work, and then to the city, and then it's the world against me. Because nobody in the world fits my bed. Don't forget, there are two beds, two different sizes. So we have kind of a moving target. I will always have the opportunity to tell people you are wrong. You are not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And that escalates to the point that it reaches the top. The top is called God. And God becomes wrong, becomes unjust, becomes, why are you doing this to me? You're not supposed to do this to me. It's nothing like this. If we treated people as immortal spirits, it would be different, because we would be treating them now as future governors of planets and orbs and galaxies. But we don't do that. We treat them now as we want them to be. We did this to the greatest of all, Jesus. We expected him. When I say we, his audience was immortal spirits, no matter who was incarnated at the time. So we did this to him. We wanted him to adapt to the to the length of our bed. And he would never do that. You see, all of our experiences, whether it's a physical body, in order to be perfect, we have to go through all experiences. We have to be living at times in a masculine body, a feminine body. We have to be just at times unjust. We have to be tolerant, intolerant. We have to go through all experiences to reach perfection. We behave, Procrusting attitudes are the behavior of those who think they are perfect. And none of us are. You see, we have to be Procrustes before we can be Paul. We have to be Paul before we can be Jesus, and so on. You can't just start being Jesus tomorrow morning. It's not going to happen. At the end, we know what happens. We are all going to reach perfection. So we can wrap it up by saying that love will always win. Always. Because that's what perfection is. Perfection is reaching pure love. So love will always win. And that becomes the next challenge. If we know that, why does it take so long for love to win? Why is it taking so long for love to win? You see, love is a movement of the soul. Love is not a divine decree. It's not the result of a divine decree. Love is the movement of the soul, which will go through trials and expiations at its own pace. It's free will. So the soul, in order to reach perfection and win, meaning reach pure love, we have to have a strategy, we have to have a plan, we have to have a philosophy of life. And if we don't, if all we are looking at is the length of our bed, there's going to be a lot of suffering. And it's going to take a long, long, long time for love to win. We need to let love win. We need to plan on it, put a strategy on it, a philosophy of life. One of them is called Spiritism. A philosophy of life that leads us on a straight path, if we want, towards perfection. You see, how long do we want to stage for at the Procrustean level before we move on? It's free will. For most people, the negativity of the world cuts off their inspiration. The negativity of the world cuts off their inspiration. And that could happen to you and me and people we know, family, friends, people we hear about. That's why we see some of the people that either lived their lives in the past or are still alive, and they become great. Of course, Jesus is a great of all, but there are others. For example, they're not even spiritists. Viktor Frankl, survivor of the Holocaust, and became one of the great names in philosophy. He founded a brand new avenue of philosophical thought called logotherapy, which is the quest for the meaning of life. I'm going to suggest you to rent a movie, if you will. It's old. It's from 1997, 1998. It's an Italian movie. The star of the movie is an actor called Roberto Benigni, Italian actor. The name of the movie is Life is Beautiful. It's spoken in Italian, but in English, Life is Beautiful. It has subtitles in English. This movie is absolutely inspiring. What the character, I'm not going to tell you, but what the character is able to accomplish and overcome and find fire within to go over the most horrific things. That's absolutely inspiring. Life is Beautiful. Roberto Benigni is the actor of the main character. Inspiration. That's what we wanted to talk about today. Let's all be inspired. We cannot be inspired by watching, the bad energy, bad content. We need to be inspired by looking at the future. And the future is love. Love is the ultimate goal. We have Spiritism, which is this life-changing philosophy of life, this body of knowledge that will teach us how to do things, how to behave, and how to follow the path of love and abandon the path of Procrustean attitudes, trying to make people fit our bed. That's a big mistake. That's reason for suffering. And I'm sure you don't like to suffer. I don't either. So that's the message for tonight. Be inspired. Don't be set for the length of your bed, if you understand. Thank you very much, guys. Down here, you can always go to kardecradio.com or our Facebook page and make your comments, suggestions, request a topic for us to bring in and discuss with you. And we will be here next week, every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Be well, and I see you next week.